All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. We're doing another how to play video, this time on an absolute classic, an absolute banger of a TCG, Magic the Gathering. Okay, so just for the record, I have no questions on how to play Magic the Gathering. There might be a few new mechanics I don't know yet, or I'd have to learn or something, but you know, because I don't play anymore, so I'm not caught up on all whatever's going on right now. But I know how to play Magic, so I'm going to use this as a how to play video as well, to kind of teaching, but we're going to kind of critique, see what they say. You know, we've been looking at a lot of these how to play tutorials. Let's see how good Magic the Gathering's how to play tutorial is, right? Okay, let's go ahead and turn off this lo-fi, and let's hear what they got to say. Oh man, this is going to be good.
Hi there, Jimmy here to walk you through your first game of Magic the Gathering. The first thing you're going to need is a deck. If you don't have one, see if your local game store has a welcome deck. Some stores offer them for free to new players.
Do they?
Two 30-card decks so you and a friend can learn to play.
Two 30-card decks. Okay, that's new to me. I always just, you know, picked up a 60-card deck. Is that what he said?
Some stores offer them for free to new players. They come with two 30-card decks so you and a friend can learn to play.
They come with two 30-card decks, okay.
A 60-card deck built around one of the many iconic characters in Magic.
Yeah, see, there we go.
Game of Magic by reducing...
Hang on.
A 60-card deck built around two 30-card decks so you and a friend can learn to play. You can also pick up a Planeswalker deck.
A Planeswalker deck. Okay, see, so I'm used to... I don't know about a Planeswalker deck, but back in the day, you just picked up a 60-card deck and you went at it. When I say back in the day, I'm talking about... I kind of got really into Magic during the Lorwyn. Excuse me. I think I first saw Magic when I was a kid back in 95, 96 when it first came out. I remember seeing it at like a YMCA summer camp. Kids playing on the side. I had no idea what they were doing. Didn't really care too much. I tried to get into the game a little bit because I saw at the Target that I'd go to, you know, with my mom, obviously, when I was a kid. We'd go to this Target to shop, and I saw the cards there. I really wanted them. My mom wouldn't let me buy them. That's a story for another time. That's a fun story of, like, you know, growing up down here in the southern, southeast, you know, in the Bible Belt here in the United States. That's a fun story for another time. Long story short, I didn't really get into the game until, like, I first got I basically just gave up on it when my mom wouldn't let me buy it when I was a little kid, like, you know, like 9 years old, 10 years old. But there was a spark rekindled when I saw these Ravnica cards at a flea market, completely randomly at a flea market whenever that came out. Or maybe it was before it, or maybe it was after it came out, excuse me. But then when when Shadowmoor hit during the Lorwyn block, that's when I really got hardcore into Magic. So that's when I got into it, and I started off with a 60 card. I think it was a white-green deck. So, all right, let's keep going. Yeah, like Wiltleaf Liege, I think. Oh, man.
You win a game of Magic by reducing your opponent's life total from 20 to 0. And that's usually done by attacking them with your creatures and using spells to make sure their creatures can't attack you. To start a game, shuffle your decks and randomly decide who goes first. Usually people roll dice. Draw a hand of 7 cards, and whoever won the dice roll goes first. In a one-on-one match, the player who goes first doesn't get to draw an additional card, but every other turn starts with the player drawing a card. Right,
so, you know, just standard. This is the beginning of card games, right? We're probably about to go over untap, upkeep, draw, but you know, in the first turn, you don't get to attack, and you don't get to draw a card on the first turn, and no character gets to attack the first turn they're summoned unless they have rush.
The first thing you'll need to play is a land. You get to play one land every turn.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, you're gonna play your one resource.
And represent the mana you use to cast the spell. You see, every spell you cast has a casting cost, which tells you the number and color of mana needed to cast them. This spell requires 1 white mana and 2 of any color.
Yep. So there's your cost at the top, right, where they have highlighted there, or, like, you know, enlarged, where it can be you're gonna need to pay 1 white and then 2 of any color. It doesn't matter. It could be all white, or it could be like a red and a black. It just doesn't matter.
Well, this spell needs 2 green mana and 4 mana.
Yeah, and there you go. That one's got 2 greens and 4 of any color.
Any color. This line tells you what kind of spell you're casting. Some spells stay on the battlefield.
Yep,
like
sorcery.
Creatures, artifacts.
You can read it in this game. You can kind of see it as sorcery is slow, and then you have your instants are fast, right? That's kind of the idea here. Is sorcery is slow speed. Everything is just sorcery slow speed in this game, unless it is instant or unless it has flash.
Enchantments, planeswalkers, and equipment. While some spells, like instants and sorceries, have an effect and then go to your graveyard.
So a lot of this stuff I just kind of know off the top of my head. So if I say something that went over your head, please tell me in the comments below and I can explain it. So, you know how it is. Like, if you actually know how to do something and someone doesn't know, you might say something that makes no sense to them because you're speaking above their level, like over their head, like hey, you just explained something to me that I don't get, because you already understand it. Can you slow it down for me? Help me understand. And if you have any questions, please tell me. But just like if you look at the left here, like you see Fatal Push, that costs 1 black mana, right? At the very top right, you see it's the 1 skull. That's a swamp. This is an instant speed. You can play that at any time. It's instantaneous, right? You're instantly playing whatever that spell is, as long as you can pay the cost of it. Whereas the card under it and in front of it, the Nature's Way card, it costs 1 colorless and one forest, 1 green. That is a sorcery speed. You can only play that at the time you can play a sorcery, right? That would be during your main phase, not your opponent's. Your main phase 1 or main phase 2.
To cast any of these spells, you use your lands for mana. To use your lands, you turn them sideways or tap them. Tapping is very important.
Yeah, this is the idea. People don't like to use the word tap and untap because that's just Magic's, I guess, OG language, But that's what you're doing every time you exert a card or you rest a card. You're just tapping it sideways, and then you're untapping it when you stand it up or unrest it or restore it when I refresh.
Because it shows that the card has been used for the turn. At the beginning of your next turn, before you draw a card, you'll untap all of your tapped cards. On your turn, you can cast spells before and after combat. These 2 main casting phases of your turn are when you get to play a land that adds mana, summon creatures to fight for you, or use other kinds of spells. Right,
so in I'm surprised he hasn't gone over yet. In Magic, you have untap, upkeep, draw, main phase 1, combat, main phase 2, in turn. So in main phase 1 and main phase 2, that is when you're able to do sorcery spells, summon creatures, or or play a land, and you only play 1 land a turn.
Now, one type of spell, called an instant, can be cast at any time, such as during combat or even during your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
Think of your turn this way. Your turn starts, and you get to untap your cards and draw a new card for the turn.
What is this?
You have the mana to play. Then you can attack your opponent with any creatures you have. Then you can play any more spells you have the mana to play. Your turn ends, and your...
Okay, so they're now calling it beginning phase. So when I grew up playing, or not grew up, when I was taught how to play this game, it was always untap, upkeep, draw. That's just, man, I just had that baked into my memory. You know what I mean? But they're just calling that the beginning phase now. I guess upkeep was confusing a lot of people, and the beginning phase is just when you untap and draw your card, right? That's how they have it there. Okay.
Your opponent's turn begins. There's no difference between the main casting phases that happen before and after combat. You can even wait to play your land until after combat if you prefer.
Yep.
Now let's talk about what happens during combat. Because the goal of Magic the Gathering...
Certain cards like that have a specific type, like or a specific keyword like landfall. You might want to play your land after combat. There's situations where that might be relevant, or if you're trying to show your opponent like, oh look, I'm land screwed, right? There are ways, or resource screwed, however you want to say it. There's ways to kind of like manipulate your opponent, right, into thinking a certain way.
Gathering is to reduce your opponent's life total to 0. Creatures you control will only attack your opponent. Normally, creatures will never attack another creature, although there are some advanced spells that allow this to happen. In combat, you declare any creatures you want to attack your opponent by tapping those creatures. Remember though, a tapped creature can't block when your opponent attacks you. Also, creatures can't attack the turn they're played because newly cast creatures suffer from summoning sickness.
Yeah, summoning sickness. So again, this is the old school model, right? There is no leader. You don't have a leader in this game. This is the old school model of I'm attacking my opponent's face, right? I'm just attacking you, who I'm playing. You're getting attacked.
After you decide which creatures are going to attack, your opponent then gets to choose which creatures they block with and who blocks who.
And they get to choose who block. That's right. Yeah, you as the defender, you get to determine, okay, I'm going to block with this guy, this guy, and this guy, and this guy, but you can't block with characters that are already tapped.
Then damage happens all at once. This is a creature's power. Creatures deal damage equal to their power during combat. This is a creature's toughness. If a creature takes as much damage as its toughness, it dies. If a creature isn't blocked, that damage goes to the player. All creatures that were damaged but not killed heal back to full toughness at the end of each player's turn.
Yep, so the damage doesn't just stick around unless there's a specific mechanic like counters, which, those have existed in previous expansions. I'm sure they still exist to this day. There's +1/+1 counters, -1/-1 counters, things like that.
All right, let's look at an example. This is also a great opportunity to show you how instants work.
Cool, here we go.
With a Rune Claw Bear, and my opponent chooses to block with a Summit Prowler.
Okay, so it looks like the Summit Prowler is just going to eat him up, right? Because he's a 4/3 going out of 2/2. But your opponent is not just going to swing into something they know is going to lose, right?
Normally, my creature would die, but I have Ornamental Courage in my hand, which is an instant. At any point during the combat phase, I can play this instant. I pay the casting cost and cast Ornamental Courage on my Rune Claw Bear once my opponent has chosen their blocker. Now my creature has 3 power and 5 toughness.
What did that say? It says untap target creature. It gets +1 and +1/+3 until end of turn.
On my Rune Claw Bear, once my opponent has chosen their blocker. Now my creature has 3 power and 5 toughness. Should be enough to turn the tides. But then my opponent plays High Spired Fusion on their Summit Prowler.
Target creature's +3/+3 until end of turn. You get 2 energy counters.
Response. Your opponent can respond with their own instants if they have the mana to play them. Now their creature has 7 power.
Oh man, he got us.
Claw Bear still dies.
Right, he got us, man. He got us.
Once combat and your 2 main casting phases are over, you pass the turn to your opponent. And those are the basics of
That's it, yeah.
Every Magic card is different. And
that's how you play the game.
Each card also explains what it does. Take a look at Sarah Angel.
Yeah, and a big thing in Magic are these keywords, flying and vigilance. They mean the same on every single character. Flying means this creature can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. Reach is another keyword that can block flyers. And then vigilance is attacking doesn't cause this creature to tap. The nice thing about vigilance is you can attack with your character, and then they're standing up so they can block on your turn as well. Right, just classic.
It has flying and vigilance, and the reminder text explains what those words mean. If you're ever not sure what a card does, you can visit gatherer.wizards.com and search for that card for its full rules. So, now that you know the basics, get out there and challenge your friend to a
very cool.
duel.
To a duel, yeah. So, there we go. Very, very cool. Magic, never disappoints, right? I'm being facetious. There's a reason. It has its own problems. But this video was excellent. They really captured what Magic is. You've got your resources. They didn't talk about all the different kinds of cards that well. I feel like they didn't just like they did right here a little bit. Oops, sorry, where is it? I just saw it. They go over the phases here. I thought the phases was interesting. They've broken it down to 5. It used to be like 8, right? Untap, upkeep, draw, and then main 1, combat, main 2, end. Or was that 7? Maybe that's 7. Excuse me. If I could just learn how to count. But yeah, like here's. Let's go to right here. They show all the different cards. Here we go.
Like instants and sorceries.
There we go. So in this one, this kind of shows every single kind of card in the game. We already went over the ones on the left. Go over to the right where it says Toppelgeist, the 1-costed white one there. That is a creature card. That gray card, there's 2 gray cards here. The Explosive Apparatus is an artifact, but then there's also this artifact in the front, this Inventor's Goggles. Let me go ahead and turn some sound back on. Sorry. The Inventor's Goggles. That's an artifact. That's an artifact equipment that you can attach to creatures. And then that Triskaidekaphobia card, that is an enchantment. The red card Chandra is a planeswalker. These are all different types of cards. They're all kind of different. Those cards, all of these cards can only be played during a main phase 1 or main phase 2 of your turn, except that instant fatal push at the top left. Now these cards, they're all kind of act in different ways. Your creature is a character you can attack with. It helps you fight your opponent, the person you're fighting, the wizard you're fighting, right, in this duel. Your sorceries can help power up your characters or alter the board state in a way. It may not alter the board state per se, but like, take out characters. They can attack. They can destroy things. They can help things. They can buff things. Things like that. Artifacts kind of just stick around. They're not, unless otherwise stated, they're not creatures. They are artifacts that sit around on the board and they just do whatever they say they do. Like this Inventor's Goggles, it is just an artifact equipment that just sits on the board. You pay 1, it sits there. Unless you equip it, you see the cost at the bottom, it equips for 2. And when you equip it, the creature gets a +1/+2. And then whenever an artificer enters the battlefield under your control, you may just attach Inventor's Goggles to it for free, right? As opposed to paying the equip cost. And then now each enchantments, that black card behind it is very similar. It just sits on the board and does what it does, whatever it says it does. And then Chandra, Torch of Defiance on the far right there, that's a Planeswalker card that came out, I think came out during Lorwyn, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that card, that is a special card that sits on the board, and then it has options you get to choose for it to do. And it is interesting because it is a planeswalker, and it acts like how we are as well. We are like planeswalkers, so to speak, in a way where this character can be attacked. Instead of you being attacked, they can attack Chandra if you have her on the board, and to take her out so she can't keep doing her abilities. So very cool stuff here. This guy did a great job explaining it. I think he should have spent a little more time on this. And I think he did a good job with instants and sorceries, paying mana cost. I'm actually a big fan of how they've dumbed this down to just 5 steps instead of 7. He did a good job explaining the attack steps. Guys, this is just a timeless game. I think it's a little bit in the past, to be honest. I think this game is a little bit old school and they need to take it into new directions. Maybe doing more with planeswalkers. Maybe replacing the player with a planeswalker. Because all of this is perfect. Like the way that combat's resolved, the way enchantments are, the way instants are, sorceries, artifacts. That's all perfect, but there's still a few things that are just ancient history. And that would be, like I said, like this very first thing he said. You start with 20 life. Going to 0 and you lose, or taking your opponent to 0 and they lose, right? This is an old school thing, and I think this was a step in the right direction when they had the introduction of these planeswalkers here. This Chandra, Torch of Defiance red card on the right. Excuse me. I think they need to start making leaders in Magic, but who knows? You know, it's such a timeless game. I don't think people want to mess with it, especially the designers that, you know, for fear of it like just being totally ruined. Who knows? But long story short, I don't want to talk too long about Magic. I think everyone knows Magic the Gathering. Any card player has heard of it. Anyone who's not a card player has heard of Magic the Gathering at this point, guys. It's just, I hate to keep saying the same word. It's just so classic. It's so you know, it's like an antique at this point, right? It's so original. But at the same time, that kind of makes it a little dull in some ways, right? Like, okay, can we play one of the new games now, right? But no, I have nothing but fond memories. Yeah, a few, maybe not all fond memories, but a lot of fond memories of Magic the Gathering. I played this game ad nauseum. I played this game, you know, as much as you can play a game when I was actually playing it. Now I'm done with it. I don't play it anymore. It's not that I still have commander decks I play with friends with, but this game itself for me, I'm done with. So, okay, this game, you know, this was not like my traditional videos where I'm learning a game I've never played before or I've never seen before. This is a game I've played so many times. It's crazy, right? I know it in and out. I could probably be a judge in this game, to be completely honest. So yeah, guys, if you got any questions, please just hit me up in the comments below on questions on any of these games we ever go over. I hope you all are enjoying this new little, you know, this little series we're doing on how do you play these games, right? But what do you guys think of this tutorial? Was this pretty straightforward on how to play Magic? I thought he did a pretty good job. You know, Magic is rigid to an extent. They have 2 main phases at least to help out a little bit with that rigidity. Unlike the Battle Spirits Saga game that we looked at. If you haven't watched that, please go check that out. I did a Battle Spirits Saga where it felt very much like Magic, where it's just very linear, just very one-directional. You know, whereas nowadays in the main phase, they've learned with games like Dragon Ball Super, with games like One Piece, with all these different new games coming out, the main phase needs to be my time to do what I want to. Right, there is like not just this. All right, we're gonna do a main phase, and then you get to attack. You get this one turn to attack, this one little segment here to attack, and then you can do a main phase. Yeah, that's better than nothing. But really, it should just be, I want to attack with this character, then I want to do this action, then I want to attack with this character and do this action, because it is my main phase, right? And I do think that going forward in card games, that's so pivotal. Is having, you know. Let's be critical of Magic for a while, right? Let's be critical. Magic does not have a leader. It still is using old school resources, you know, with the lands that are in the deck. When you take life, there is no actual benefit to you. You're just steadily going backwards, right? Whereas in like Battle Spirit Saga, you're getting an extra resource, and whereas in like One Piece and Dragon Ball Super, you're actually drawing a card. Right, in Magic, you take life. Well, you know, if you get hit, you see this quilled wolf in the front. If you get hit for 2, well, now you're at 18, right? You went from 20 down to 18. You know, there's no benefit to actually taking damage, and not that there needs to be any of these things, because like I said, this is like the patriarch of all card games, right? Of all the major TCGs out today. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it. That's about as critical as I can realistically be with Magic the Gathering, given how old it is and how successful it is. It's hard to be critical of games like that, but you still can be, right? There's always still, technically speaking, and theoretically speaking, there's always room for improvement. So, all right, guys, y'all tell me what y'all thought about it. Hope y'all enjoyed that, and this will probably be my shortest of all these videos because, like I said, there's not much to say about Magic the Gathering. Everyone knows about it. It is what it is. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. If I missed anything or if you guys think there's something important to add, please add it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace.